Hello guys and welcome to World Germany episode 2. In this episode we are going to start on the famous Autobahn, the German highway system. We're going to build an entire highway, build an exit for the town that we started in the last episode, and then to finish up the episode we are going to detail some gardens and place some more houses in the town. So the Autobahn is pretty famous for its speed limit, or better said, the lack of a speed limit. A big part of the highways in Germany doesn't have a speed limit, so this means that you can basically drive as fast as you want without getting a fine. Germany is, as far as I know, the only country to have that, and that is why I felt that I had to include that in this series. And of course we obviously need a highway. We're going to use a lot of German signs to make these highways even more like the German ones, and we're also going to have no speed limit. So as we're not going to have a speed limit on this highway, I didn't want to add sharp corners, which was in some cases pretty hard because of the terrain. But at the end I tested it in first person and everything was fine. So you see me messing around a bit with the train and you might wonder why. I use it for the infamous train check, invented by No U-Turns, a good friend of mine. And with that train you basically check if the height between a bridge and the road beneath is big enough. Okay, you could do this with a big truck and then leave some space. But you know, it's just way funnier with the train. So we're starting on the highway exit. And this will be a partial cloverleaf interchange, which is pretty common on German highways. The big difference with the usual partial cloverleaf interchange in Germany is that the country road will go beneath the highway and not above it. Usually the country road would go in a bridge above the highway, but because of the terrain we had a highway bridge anyway, so I decided to let the rural road go beneath the highway. I use Move It here to mirror the first half of the interchange to get a perfectly symmetrical total interchange. That is something I love about Move It. It has these secret little tricks that just make your life so much easier, like mirroring an entire interchange. Another thing I learned is that if you select the first segment of the off-ramp, so basically the segment that is closest to the actual node that you're editing, you can make the curve of the off-ramp so much smoother, which I'm doing over here. I'm not sure if I do this over here too, but this could also be used to fix up the chevrons that can be kind of weird on the edges. I usually try to fix these both things with adjusting the size of the node, but apparently you can edit the segments too, and that is a much easier way and it looks so much better. So we're starting on the kind of ground floor of the interchange, and as this is a pretty rural region, the interchange will be pretty big as there is just a lot of space. Later on in the series we will also detail some nature around it, but we'll do that in a later episode, a part of some small bits. That's what we'll do today. So for this interchange we're going to make two of these typical German intersections with a dedicated left turning lane, which will be pretty similar to the one that we built in episode 1, which I couldn't put it in the video because it was just too much time that I spent on that. But as this wasn't the first interchange in that style, I knew what to do, so it didn't take that long, which is why I added it in this video. So enjoy me putting together an intersection of 4 different types of roads by just using Node Controller and Intersection Marking Tool. So now the raw shapes of the interchange are done. We are converting this highway into an actual Autobahn by removing the speed limit. We will do a separate episode focusing on the Autobahn at some point, where we will build a gas station and generally detail with some trees and grass. For now we are moving on with placing and customizing direction signs. I am using the two cities Köln and Trier for the directions on the highway, as these are the two big cities that are north and south of the region that we are inspiring this build off. We won't build these two cities, but I just needed two names to put on the highway signs, otherwise they would look a bit empty, right? Further in the series we will probably have some other towns too, which will make the signs more interesting because there will be more text on it. So now we are connecting the highway exit to the T-junction that we built in the last video. And there was a bit of a height difference between those two places, so I couldn't really connect them directly, but I decided to make another T-junction a bit further down the road. This actually makes a lot of sense if you think about it, because the third road that we are not connecting right now could be the old main road that is running further through the valley. And when the highway got built, they just kind of connected it up to that main road. So now we are building a T-junction that is exactly like the one in episode 1. And yeah, I'll see you after the time lapse. As I already mentioned in the previous episode, I do all the road markings myself, a part of the highways, because I didn't like the gaps between the stripes that the equivalent of this road with road markings had. And in the town I use a mix of blank roads and the SC basic roads. These roads also don't have markings, but I just really like them, and I like having the power to decide where what marking should be. For the highways I use the concrete over wall highway collection, and these roads do have markings, but the blank road highways weren't out when I started this project, and they don't look exactly as I would want them to, so I decided to stick with these highways for the moment, and maybe at some point I will change them for some blank highways, although the highways would look a lot cooler when I can do custom markings on them. So while I was talking about the highways and other roads, I actually started placing the delineators. These are the same as in actual Germany and are commonly placed next to every sort of important road outside of towns. These delineators usually function as streetlights too, because most of the rural roads in Germany don't have any streetlights. Same goes for most of the rural highways, by the way. That is why I also didn't place any streetlights on the highway that we built earlier today. So for the last couple of minutes of this video, we are going to be expanding the town, starting with a supermarket. We placed a Lidl, which is a pretty common supermarket in Germany and the countries around. And luckily in this area that we're basing this off, they are building the supermarkets in the same style as this one. So this is going to be the only real supermarket inside the town. We will probably build a few more shops on the other side of the river, but this will be the main source of food and other things for the people in this town. Over here we are building some kind of monument, just a simple flag with some planters with flowers around, and this is a monument for the war that has been fought on this bridge, and I felt like that was a nice thing to add next to the parking lot. That used to be an ancient marketplace before they converted it into a parking lot because of the increasement of tourists. This parking place still gets used for events like Christmas markets though. So while I was rambling about parking lots and bridges, we actually started detailing some gardens. We placed this retaining wall over here to cover the big height difference that we have in this town. And throughout the building of this town, we will use different methods of overcoming height differences, which at the end looks pretty cool, in my opinion. So as you see, we are really heavily detailing every garden, and every garden is unique. And I really like that, because I always think what kind of people would live in such a house that converted its entire garden into a parking lot. Like, I would think that there would be a person there that rents rooms and that way has to have a lot of parking space for all the tourists or workers or whatever. Anyways, I don't have anything more to say about this, so I hope you enjoyed the time lapse. So this is it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. We built a nice little highway with an highway exit and made progress on the town. So yeah, that's it, and I'll see you in the next one.